Okay, this guy's name is Havoc. I think we watched a video from him 2 weeks ago or so. The algorithm picking another one here entitled, I backed Star Citizen 12 years ago. Here's what you should know. Okay.
Having backed Star Citizen 12 years ago, I have seen many releases ranging from the hangar module to the big releases of 2.0, 3.0, and even today's releases. While the scope and vision of the game has grown over the years, you can tell that it has a ton of potential if CIG can deliver on this ambitious game. And after witnessing this growth and various changes over the years as Star Citizen continues to grow in popularity, I believe it's given me a lot more insight than I normally would have. But what about everything that they don't tell you from the beginning? Well, in today's video, we'll cover what I believe you should know as a current player, or even if you're just interested in Star Citizen. A lot of this is just my views and opinions based on my experience, so keep that in mind. If you love Star Citizen and enjoy this type of content, smash that like button, and be sure to share your thoughts in the comments of what your experience has been like over the years. Your engagement with the channel helps us gauge your interest in all things Star Citizen. And if you love to discuss the game's future...
Hold on, I'm sharing my experiences now. I'm not going to push like yet, but we got 595 likes. Here's my experiences. I'm going to sum it up. It's been crazy. I think that's pretty accurate, actually. I think that's pretty accurate.
News and updates that are clear and concise, and enjoy seeing all of the great sim gear and peripherals on the market, then consider supporting the channel by clicking that subscribe button so you can stay informed on everything.
I'm having a blast. What about you guys?
Let's reach a goal of 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year.
Yes, you're gonna hate me.
The cycle of Star Citizen has been relatively unchanged for the better half of its development. A new patch gets released, players get excited to have something new to play, and then as time goes on, they get bored and upset that nothing is happening. And then all new updates are put on the roadmap for the next patch.
The cycle,
it gets released to the Evocati and then to subsequent waves. And then the cycle repeats itself.
Yes.
Each time this occurs, Star Citizen showcases its remarkable potential to demonstrate its extensive capabilities. For dreamers, this facilitates the visualization of the game's vision and potential. Realists acknowledge the potential for greatness while basing their assessment on their own experiences. And skeptics, often influenced by negative media coverage, question the game's viability. Each perspective holds validity with its respective context. As the game continued to bring in tons of money during the course of its development, the scope...
Here's what I don't like. I don't like those that critique the game and shit all over people who like to dream, because I feel like that's lazy content. Right. But also I don't like white knight people that are like, everything's fine, everything's great all the time. I like to kind of be a rational human being involved in this project, talking about the things that are things to worry about and things that are good. So like I try and balance out the criticisms with the, you know, the goodness. I think that's pretty important when you're choosing a content creator. I think a lot of people just like to make the clickety clack and get that easy money by just hating on Star Citizen a lot. I really do. I really think that there's a lot. I would say there's tons of content creators out there, even old school content creators that revert back into this, like, hey, let's take the easy punch on the guy that's on the ground. Yeah, it seems like, they're making thousands of dollars collectively, tens of thousands of dollars, maybe even hundreds over the past years, where they're just getting free paychecks, because it seems like it's easy, lazy content to critique to the point where you're just making fun and hating so hard. It's just like, man, it's a little too easy. I've seen videos like that, and they don't even really explain as to why they feel they do. They just take easy pot shots. It's
game crew as well. This caused much of the original foundation to be reworked by creating specialized tools for development, heavily modifying the original CryEngine to be its own unique star engine, and adding major tech such as object container streaming, persistent entity streaming, and eventually static and dynamic server meshing. Additionally, since the focus was primarily on developing Squadron 42 over the years, due to it originally being the game that would get created first, and the game the Kickstarter was created for, many of the developers were over in Manchester, working hard to deliver on the promises they initially made. This ended up causing many patches and even release dates to be continually delayed year in and year out. This displays the biggest issue with the development of Star Citizen, but also what's great about it. The development of the game is fairly transparent. in that we get regular updates almost every week, with information on features, vehicles, and more being shown.
I mean, fairly transparent, I would say really transparent and consistently so. I would say that's an understatement. I don't think there's any developer out there who posts this kind of content on such a regular basis. It might not be the content, we talked about this tonight, it might not be the content that you want, but damn if it isn't content and they're just basically pushing it every single week to let you know where they're at, right? So, I mean, like, to me, I've never seen, I've been around a long time. And let me tell you something, I've never seen a developer so committed to a fan base and so transparent ever in the history of making games. And rightly so, they should. $700 million, man. This game is backed by the fans themselves, so they should absolutely do that.
In a normal situation, much of what we currently see and play would never be shown to the general public, and those privy would be under NDA during its alpha testing. If it were any other publisher or developer, none of us would have any idea that such a project existed.
Thank you for that subscription.
Many of these delays can be attributed to the fact that they rely on other foundational features such as persistent entity streaming, static server meshing, or even basic gameplay features to be in and working to assess if they fundamentally work enough so that developers can move on to other tasks. Now, the communication within this project is also its greatest strength and weakness as well, and over the last 12 years of watching everything unfold, some of the communication has gotten better, while other parts seemingly have gotten worse, with developers sometimes being overly candid, telling us exactly what to expect, and others making fairly fundamental changes to the game, only to respond once the community has grabbed enough pitchforks, when they could have communicated why they're making a change prior. If you're looking to get into starcitizen, you need to properly set your expectations and expect missing features, missed deadlines, and continued development.
That's based.
There are a ton of optimistic and passionate people behind this ambitious project, but many things within game development don't always work out as expected. And that's important to remember when dealing with a game such as starcitizen. For me, as time progressed and numerous updates were implemented, I reached a point of exhaustion due to the repeated delays in release dates, the continuous addition of new features, and the constant modifications and complete refactors to the flight model.
And yet, here he is, making content for it again. And that's the thing I want to say about starcitizen that really is the most interesting thing, is because there's no other game trying to do this. These are why people keep coming back. I've had the exhaustion myself, you know? I had a point in my life where, like, I was gone for at least 2 weeks. Shortly afterwards, realized there's no other developer out there trying to do this. There's none. Love them or hate them, there's not one. I've asked this numerous times this month, and most of you, 2 whole weeks, Limitless. I was gone for 2 weeks, dude. Limitless can attest to this. For this past month, Limitless, I have been saying, name me one other developer who is trying to create a game like this in its scope, for all of those stretch goals that we wanted, for everything this game is going to be, for what I coined the everything game many, many moons ago. Name me one developer trying to do this. Nobody can give me an answer. Not one person has answered me. And Limitless can attest to this. Stunner can attest to this. Many people that have been watching this stream, this channel, been a part of DG360, have for the past month heard me repeat this like a mantra, and spread it around. Go ahead and use it. The banana fountain springs forth ideas.
Banana fountain.
If somebody's just like tired and frustrated and, you know, like or angry, and they got to go out and touch grass or play another title and don't realize that they can actually do that, and instead just like hate monger, and they're doing this, and it kind of, you're like, what the fuck is going on with this guy? Then just ask them that simple question. Just be like, name me one developer who's doing this. Give me something to compare this with. Give me a legitimate answer, a response. Let me investigate it. Let me compare it to Star Citizen and let me compare it to Cloud Imperium. Name me one developer. Just name me one. No? No? Okay. All right.
These changes seem to hinder progress rather than facilitate it. And around 2018, my frustration reached a peak, leading me to completely abandon the game for approximately a year. Every quarter, I would return to assess any developments or changes, but my active engagement was typically limited to less than a week. Instead, I immersed myself in flight simulators such as DCS and explored various contemporary games, including Destiny 2, where I began to enjoy games again. But I was really hopeful for Star Citizen and really wanted the project to be successful. Around August of 2023, I returned from a long year away from home, and it was about that time that I jumped back into Star Citizen and saw recent updates and the introduction of persistent entity streaming, having heard about but not experiencing the rough launch of 3.18. Now, I still saw the potential the game had, but I needed to get to a point to commit to coming back.
Right.
It wasn't until CitizenCon that my optimism and excitement for the game finally returned, and I began to see things take shape. After years of waiting, much of this is what I wanted to see years ago. And with development beginning to move from Squadron 42 and onto Star Citizen, I felt that this was the moment in time I might be able to see a ton of change over the next few years. While there are many more features to develop, like new gameplay loops, major tech updates to be added and fine-tuned like server meshing, and highly anticipated ships like the Polaris and Merchantman, the game is beginning to look like something I will want to play for the better part of a decade, and is one of the most ambitious projects I've seen in a long time that can be on another level in many ways. Much of the realization of how much bigger the game could be and the ambition of Chris Roberts came after the funding began to take off. New goals were set, and now CIG had to push even harder to get the game that they all wanted to make, that many players wanted to see. For example, the developers have many gameplay loops planned that they want to implement throughout development. From more advanced cargo hauling missions that would allow you to carry commodities to cities, space stations, settlements, outposts, or player bases, to massive distribution centers with their closed ecosystem that will allow players to complete missions and have them move cargo between the various warehouses and ships that venture to the location. Mining will continue to give you a way to collect metals, gases, and even ice to sell to various locations, store at your local base or hangar, and even gather all of the resources necessary to craft many different types of items or what's necessary to build your base.
This year going into next year, tons needs to be talked about in terms of economic gameplay. Tony Z needs to come out at CitizenCon. There needs to be an economic panel at CitizenCon. If you agree with me, put a 1. I do think that the backbone of any MMO or any game that has the economy facet to it is, in fact, the industrial players. You know, for as much people that get pissed off at like PvEers, they really are the backbone if they're involved with the economy. That motherfucking PvE player is responsible for the fun. The backbone of the fun. They're doing all the heavy lifting in terms of the armchair warrior data Excel spreadsheets, and they want a real economy. Can I get an amen for them? Like, for real, they deserve a fucking amen. There's a lot of people that want that deep, immersive economic gameplay that I will say it again. I keep drawing the analogy back to EVE Online. Some of the best economic player-driven demand ever. And my worst fear with Star Citizen is that we're not going to have player-driven demand. We're going to have a simulated player-driven demand experience, which I question. Is that going to be true demand? Will Quantum, or whatever they're calling it now, give us what it is that we want so that we can feel like we're part of this economy, so that when you're mining, so that when you're trading, so that when you're manufacturing eventually, and manufacturing nodes come out to a limited amount of people in terms of the way that I've kind of read things. When those facets come in, will that give us that demand that we're looking for, that we're accustomed to with player-driven economies of EVE Online and those of SWG, and, you know, like so many great titles that gave us that really nitty-gritty, hardcore industrialist vibe, right? That backbone, that's what's needed. We need more economic news. We need Tony Z to come out and tell us what's going on. And I desperately want them to focus on it. Some people, they fall asleep the second you talk about the economy or numbers or profit or, you know, no. It provides dynamic experiences. When you accrue the assets and you have a place, when land claims come into this and you have a place to store those assets, wow, talk about dynamic experiences you're going to have then. That's going to be fascinating. But how about we just start with simple getting out of this A to B fetch quest, you know, type of vibe that we've got currently. Let's talk about that. What do we need? Again, dynamic server meshing. This is why I say dynamic server meshing is on the top of the priority list. It is the holy grail, and a lot hinges on this being implemented and actually being coded correctly and it being successful, because I'm telling you what, if they can't figure this out, whoa, better watch out. It's going to make for a big mess, right? So there's a lot hinged upon this, not only just for those reasons, but also for the stability, right? So it's, you know, I had somebody that mentioned in the YouTube comments like, oh, it's not that important. And I was like, what? Like, what? I don't know how you can't think that that is like one of the most important priorities. Like that kind of blew my mind. And then, you know, like I would see that peppered in every once in a while. I would see those comments peppered in like, it's not that important. And I'm like, are we on the same planet? Like, who are these people that don't think that that's important on top of the priority list, man? That is like priority number one. In order for us to have these dynamic experiences, in order for the AI to work properly, in order for the economy to fit in order for multiple systems, in order for population, for traffic population, for gamers in an area. Obviously, one of the number one most important features, important pieces of tech, right? And again, I know we're waiting on this, and I know there's so much dependent upon this, and that's why I call it the Holy Grail. But can we just have a sliver of people that are devoted to talking about the economy on the next couple Inside Star Citizens? Let's talk about they're focusing on the weapons team tonight. Really cool. Inside Star Citizen review. Really cool show. I dug it tonight. I like the format. I like the editing of it. Let's talk to the economic team. Can I get a name in there? Where the fuck's the economic team at? Can I get some runs for some economic team talk? Some people like that are out there that are industrialists that actually like the trading. Where the fuck's the economic team at? Can we talk to the economic team? Is there anybody representing the economic team? Is Tony even fucking alive anymore? What the fuck is going on with the economy? Like, I know we got to wait for the server meshing. I get that for quantum and the AI algorithm for it to get booted up. I get that. But can we at least fucking talk a little bit about it? Like an appetizer or something? Can you give me a goddamn appetizer? Sorry. I'm getting frustrated. Like, woo! I gotta take a breath.
And with salvage, you'll be able to remove components and weapons from derelict ships, strip their hulls for constructed materials, or fracture and disintegrate a ship for recycled composites. But with salvage and mining, more might be added in the future, which will make it even more engaging and complex. With refining, we might be able to see the ability to take all of those resources and commodities to make pure versions that would enhance the level of quality and enable crafters to build higher tier items.
Thank you, Nick.
For example, creating even better components for ships that will keep them running cleaner, quieter, and better than their counterparts. These same components will tie in the engineering and resource management gameplay that we've been seeing for the better half of a year, where we'll have 3 different subsections of that gameplay that will allow us to specialize what we want to do on the ship as an engineer. Do we want to be a tuner that can overclock the ship components for maximum performance or efficiency? Do we want to be a mechanic where we will dedicate ourselves to repairing components and replacing fuses when they begin to malfunction? Or do we just want to be the guy behind the scenes who's tasking out engineers and tuners to specific areas on the ship and responsible for adjusting power distribution, managing life support systems, controlling doors, and indicating to the crew where possible fires, damaged components, or fuses are located, all while sitting in our comfortable chair on the bridge? Bounty hunting will allow you to accept missions where you can pilot a range of combat vessels either alone or with a team, tracking down and eliminating designated criminals and looting their cargo or equipment. Additionally, one day you'll have the option to disembark from your ship to pursue these individuals on foot and employ non-lethal methods to capture them alive.
They're going to increase that. I like where Mooks is. I like what Mooks is bringing to the chat here. He says server meshing still only allows 100 people in an area. It's similar to other MMOs with instances. It's just fixing a huge design error other MMOs don't have. Yeah, but like if you've watched a lot of the server meshing tech and a lot of the videos involved with dynamic server meshing, they're going to take areas and propagate the servers and separate servers according to the actual population so that the servers essentially can coexist alongside one another, and you can slip in and out, and the dimensions of the actual population or the amounts of people or traffic in those areas will be propagated to servers at the code, however the code is going in terms of the algorithm figuring out like how many people are grouped together in population areas, so that essentially, yes, you can only have like up to, I think, like 100 in those spaces, but if you are conjoined or joined in close to them, the server will propagate an additional server next to it so that you can slide in and out of different servers and they communicate with one another so that your experience is not interrupted, right? And I think that they'll continue that work so that they'll actually be able to have more people. But again, we're talking about tech that has not really been invented. Like there's a version of it out there. I get what you're saying, but we're talking about future tech is what we're talking about, right? So it will be interesting to see this first instance, how they're going to bring it is more like a static mesh when Pyro comes online, and then they'll kind of evolve it into dynamic server meshing, which should be like one hell of a messy experience. It's going to be messy. It's going to be messy. I said this a while ago. The first iteration is going to be like, whoo, hold on to your hats. You know what I mean? It's going to be messy, but it's got to happen. And Pyro is going to be a great test bed. Like Pyro and Stanton together and having multiple systems, that's going to be a wonderful test bed. And they'll start introducing larger ships as well, you know? So I think we're going to have more. I think we'll have more according to what I've been reading and researching.
Once apprehended, you can deliver them to your local bounty hunters guild for a reward.
We're gonna wait.
There's hacking gameplay, investigating,
what they give us.
Commercial and VIP transportation, medical gameplay, ship combat, FPS combat,
and then we can bitch
smuggling,
about it.
racing, ship and vehicle repair and recovery, base building, farming, crafting, data running, and science and exploration gameplay, which I recently covered. Now, if you're interested in getting the details of what I think exploration may look like in the future, I encourage you to check out the video I did last week.
We'll see.
There's so much that you'll be able to see and do in Star Citizen once all of the features and systems are in place that will keep you engaged for hours on end and keep you coming back wanting more. And with so many options, the types of gameplay you engage in is really up to you.
Yes, I did, Sketch. And what I'm trying to say is I don't think all 800 were in one server instance. I think there were multiple server instances, and I think that was the mesh I'm speaking of right now, Sketch. So I get what you're saying. That's what I was trying to explain very badly to Mooks.
This provides you the freedom to explore various options and customize your gaming experience to your preferences. Even in the current state of the game, which may have some bugs and require further refinement, you retain the same level of autonomy to make choices and determine your course of action. As development progresses, we receive consistent updates and insights into remarkable features, ships, and their advancement every week. This enables us to witness their dedication to delivering exceptional content to the game and their vision for specific functionalities. After raising well over $700 million at the time of recording, the game appears to be gaining even more momentum than before. Despite questionable marketing decisions and the prioritization of yet another in-game event being added over a game-changing update that could fundamentally transform cargo gameplay, player inventories, and address a critical bug that allows players to exploit the game. Most of the time, a lot of these features being added are being made for the game that it will become, and not for the game as it is now, which creates a ton of frustration for players. These features, when they come to the game, aren't fixed or fully completed because they just need to be able to allow players to validate that the fundamental pieces will work with the game. So if you find that the game is causing you more frustration and irritation than enjoyment due to its unique quirks, bugs, and stability issues, I highly encourage you to take a break and explore many other great games. And check in here occasionally to
What's crazy is like this, like what Havoc's saying is that you have to actually express that to a human being. Like, is this the state of humanity right now where if somebody doesn't enjoy something, you have to tell them, hey, you're upset because you don't enjoy something. So maybe you should not play that or have those experiences. Like, what? Like, I love that. I love that. Like, it really tells you about the state of humanity. Like, somebody who's not enjoying something that does the same thing over and over repetitively. And it's like smashing your head in a wall and telling the guy, like, hey, you're bleeding from your forehead. Perhaps you should stop bashing your head into a wall. Like, what? Like, I love that. I love it. Like, should it come with a warning label?
To get the latest updates, the game will always be here whenever you decide to return. While there's a lot of negativity and clickbait articles surrounding the game due to its lengthy development time and controversial decisions, the developers remain extremely passionate and optimistic.
What's up, Wicked Wookie? I'm just about to, we're just finishing up on this one, but thank you so much, Wicked. How you doing, Wooks? Good to see Wicked Wookie in here, bringing the raid over. Thank you very much. I hope you had a great stream, Wookie. I love Wookie's content. You guys got to check out Wicked Wookie. He's awesome. I love him.
And I anticipate that they will continue to work diligently to deliver a great experience in Squadron 42 and in Star Citizen. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and let me know in the comments what you're looking forward to the most in the future, as I would love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to join our
dynamic server meshing. like a lot of us that have been around for a while. That's what that and economic gameplay and economic news. I mean, for God's sake, you know, let's I'm gonna give this guy a like. Let me go and paste this guy's video. I thought it was a pretty good video. It's a lot of common sense stuff, but he took a lot of time to edit it. You know, a little bit more explosions though. Havoc, listen to me. If you're watching this enhancement, it's not a reaction, by the way. It's not a reaction. It's an enhancement. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. If you're watching this enhancement right now, Havoc, I just want a couple more explosions, like explosion sounds. Yeah, because Serta just bring it home, and maybe one of these.
This,
you know,
is my boomstick.
Give me one of those a little bit. You know, like add some tension, maybe some sci-fi, like just a little like get me tensed up a little bit, like just add some drama, like. What's going on up in here? Some of that, just maybe like a little bit of that, you know. All right, get back. It scared me. It scared me. Pepe, give me back. Give me, Pepe. What are you doing? Ah, ah. Whew, Jesus Christ, that sound effect scares the shit out.